Yo, what is up everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with another video tutorial. In this one, we're going to be checking out Noisy from Expressive. This is a really unique synthesizer. It makes all of its sounds, and I do mean everything from drums to plucks to synths to leads to bass to pads, everything from noise. So in this video, I think it's good just to get in and show you how to get started using the synth. What I'm going to do is just come over here and go to new preset, which is going to give me the default preset, which sounds like this. And that sounds like any other synth you've ever heard. But if I come to the noise crossfader here and go to dry, that's the sound that's generated by the synth, and then it's filtering and modulation and these resonators down here that make the sound into your stereotypical sounds from other synths, subtractive, additive, what have you. So before we get into the resonators to begin making a sound, a proper sound, let's see what sort of this top section does so we can understand how to shape the sound before jumping into actually creating the sound, if that makes sense. I think it will if you stick with me. So right now, I've just got white noise. This is the noise generator, and we have 4 different noises to choose from. Before I switch them up, I'm going to take the decay over here on the expressive control, which is kind of like your ADSR envelope, though you just have essentially attack decay, the envelope amount, and velocity. It works a little bit different than normal synths, but if I hit a key now, we'll be able to hear the noise a little bit better. So I'm going to come over to velvet, pink, white, and blue. And you can see the sort of frequency profile. It's a quick snapshot. It's very, very helpful. So this one kind of rolls off. The blue ramps up. The white is pretty steady. And then the velvet has a lot of really high peaks throughout. Let's stick with white for now. And you can see that the gain is actually following that purple line. And that has to do with the expression amount. So this is the expression control. Essentially, this is the control. This is how much you do it. If I move this big knob here, you'll see that the position has changed. You essentially want to have this on your MIDI controller or automate this in your DAW. This is sort of a way to add fluctuation, add modulation, just like you would with a modulation control inside a different synth. But what I want to do is let's just create a white noise downshifter or transition effect. To do that, I'm going to take my LFO, and I'm going to put it all the way over there, and then I'm going to take the expression amount, and I'm going to send it to the right, and then I'm going to pull the position over here. So now whenever I trigger a note, it's going to start over here and then go down. So it's going to go, right now we're on sync, let's unsync it, and go from 20 hertz down to 0 hertz. And we're not really hearing anything because we haven't put anything to the LFO. Right now, the only thing that's being triggered is the LFO rate and the gain, but we don't have anything manipulating those. So what we can do is come over here to the key tracked cutoff and turn it on. And again, we have the expression amount. All right, so we're already getting somewhere. Now, what's happening now is everything is following, again, this curve, and now we're tracking from a really open signal and cutting off those high frequencies until there's nothing left. We can take the decay and make it longer. Great. Now the fun starts as we can begin to manipulate these things with the LFO, and that's the blue line as opposed to the purple. All right. And if we pull up the decay as far as it will go, we've got a nice white noise effect. We can also do that to the gain as well. Push up the Q value on the filter. And if we just jump into effects, and we've got 2 effects inserts here, we've got a delay, maybe put just a little bit of wet signal there. We've got a reverb, again, pull a little bit of wet. And I mean, that's an effect you'll hear in any sample pack you get. And we've made it very, very quickly. And trust me, I kind of was walking you through it. But if you need an effect that's customizable, you jump into noisy and you'll get it very, very quickly. If we come back into this, we can actually reverse it. So instead of a downshifter, we have a sort of riser. What we would do for that is pull the gain and then invert this. And we've got it. Or we can go slower and then faster by doing the same thing with the LFO rate. All right. That is the basics of the modulation and the noise sources inside of noisy. In fact, let me just go through the other noises to see what they sound like. That's the velvet. Pink. The white. And the blue. I'm going to leave it on white while we jump into the resonator, but it's really important to understand that. You do have different LFO shapes. You've got triangle, ramp up, square, and random. But actually, what I'm going to do is come back in and do new preset again. You can look at this expressive control as a macro control. Just remember it that way, but it is a great way once you start really designing more complex patches to be able to add character to your sounds rather than having them be really static. So that was obviously when I had dry 100% and we could really hear the noise, but if we have a wet 100%, is where we start getting sounds. Now, the first resonator is right here, and we've got 2 different resonator options. We've got the oscillator and a comb filtering system, and these both generate different sounds. As soon as I move away from just the oscillator, which is going to be noise with a little bit of resonance, we'll get rid of the noise sound and just get kind of a natural tone or a pure tone. And all the way up, it's going to be, and you can hear it kind of, it's got like a long tail, a long release, and that's just because it's the resonant frequency, kind of like a guitar string that isn't being muted by something. And if we take the little ball here in this matrix, we can change the shape of that sound. Okay? Then we also have comb filtering. And if we go to the right, we'll add even harmonics. And if we go to the left, we'll add odd harmonics. And it really changes the type of sound we get. So that's like a string sound almost. They're doing some really cool physical modeling to create these tones. It sounds organic but synthetic at the same time. And I just find it so cool to remember in the back of my head that this is all coming from pure white noise signal in the background. And if we go to the other end with the odd harmonics, completely transforms the sound. So we can also blend between the two. Now, remember the modulation, and this is why it's really important to understand the modulation routing. We have the expression amount, which we can add to either the X or Y position of this resonator. Or we can add the LFO to it. And once we add some more modulation to the X position now, and maybe some LFO as well, And these over here on the side are just going to control the fall off of the modulation amplitude, not amplitude, but essentially how quickly it falls off, and it will change the speed of one position to another. So how quickly it goes from one position to the other, and we can change the rise amount and the fall amount independently. Or we can just leave it the way it is. So we can also send the expression amount to the LFO amount. There's just so much way to add character to your synths by using all of these controls, okay? Now, each page, and there are 2 pages inside of Noisy, has 3 resonators. So from here on this one, not only can we add sort of a vibrato here, but we have built-in vibrato as well. So I can actually remove all this stuff for a second, just get a pure tone again. Just double-clicking everything to set it back to its default. You can hear the vibrato. So you can add vibrato in that sort of pitch sense tone. Then you can also add the movement of the noise being created with the expression amount and the LFO modulation. But we can come over here and add a second resonator, and we just turn it up. I like to turn it up solo just so I can focus on the sound first and then mix them together. And the vibrato is going to be applied to everything. So if you don't want vibrato, just turn that off. And maybe we can push it up an octave. I might drop it down. And I like to just come in and randomly add some fluctuation and just see what happens. I also like to come in and turn on my cutoff, and I usually like to roll off the ultra high frequencies. Again, because just remember, we're generating everything with noise. Pull up the gain, push a soft clipper maybe. And then from there, we can add another resonator. Pull it in. And now we sort of have a subby end to the pluck we're making. And just a quick way to add some other stuff was just come into effects maybe and put on something like Froggy. We can turn it down a little bit. And everything sounds better with a little bit of reverb. Isn't that cool? When you get Noisy, you'll have all of these presets, and these presets will use 1 or 2 of the pages and have some effects built in. But the thing that I like is that I can then get into the presets on a per note or per page base rather. So I've kind of made a pluck here on page 1, custom designed, and then I've just added a little bit of flair to it using an effect, and I'm digging it. But maybe we don't want an effect. Maybe we want to just kind of add some chords. So this is starting to give you an example of some of the sounds that you can create. I really like that bass sound. So anyway, that's a very basic intro to Noisy and how to get started and kind of understanding the concepts behind the synth itself. I think it's a really unique idea. I have never seen a synth based on generating great tones and patches from nothing but noise based on physical modeling, comb filtering, and resonant frequencies. It is a really cool idea, and because of the execution and how great it is, you get some really unique and interesting results. So if you've just grabbed Noisy, which is now available on Plugin Boutique, if you haven't grabbed it, definitely do it. Links in the video description. I hope that's enough for you to begin to get in and start building and customizing your own patches and getting the most you can out of this incredible synth from Expressive. Anyway, as usual, I'm Joshua Casper. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.